Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Let's Talk 1943. We are back for another great episode. Tonight is going to be a treat. We have special guest, major podcast lady here, Tamala Shaw, and she's going to talk to us about codependency, y'all. It's a trip. So get ready. So you ready? All right. Let's talk. All right, we're back. We back. 1943. Let's talk. So let me formally introduce. As you know, this is my co-pilot, my girl in Ride and Die here, Carla Morgan, and co-host, as well as our special guest, Tamala Shaw. She was diagnosed with codependency over a decade ago. She was in therapy. Her life was spiraling out of control, and so she decided to get help. She was in a failing marriage, and at that time, she didn't know anything about codependency, and she was diagnosed with codependency. And her thing was, she said, "I love you. You didn't love me back." So I didn't know what that was. So she realized that was called codependency. So now she is a co-author of a book, God Turned Mommy Wine into Water. And now it's sold on Amazon.com. And she hosts her own podcast, Codependency. It's called Codependency Me Podcast. Welcome to the show, Tamala Shaw.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. First of all, me and Regina, we met each other a little bit ago. She was
Yeah.
on my show, the Codependent Me podcast, and ooh, that was a great show. So, when you sent me the invite for this, I was like, yes,
Yes,
of
you have to
course
come
I want to
on
be
here.
here.
You have to come on here, and we got a special treat. We're gonna give you a little story about something that happened on her show later on that really blown our minds on that one. So we'll talk about that. So let's just jump right into this. Before we get started, I always do a prayer when we get started our show. So I want to go ahead and get that in. So just give me a second. Lord Heavenly Father, thank you, thank you, thank you for allowing us to be on this show once again and having great guests and this great topic. And we hope that everything that we talk about, people will ponder and let it absorb in, and hopefully it will help someone tonight. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen, amen, amen. So let's just go ahead and stroll into this. What is codependency?
Okay, so you might see a lot of different quote unquote explanations over what it is, but basically it's people pleasing. You want to people please even when it's not good for you. So you can kind of dishonor yourself when you're into people pleasing for other people. You have no boundaries. Um, you really ignore your own needs, and most times it comes from childhood, I'll say, dysfunction. For me, I'll tell my story if you don't mind, how
Yes,
I
let's
figured it
roll into
out and
it.
all of that
Let's
good
go.
stuff. So, when I was a child, my parents were alcoholics. So it led to, and when you have parents that are alcoholics, and I don't want people to think that my parents are running around falling down drunk and this and that and that and this, but the situation is we lived good. The word fun is in dysfunction for a reason. My
Mm.
dad was, he worked at, I'll just put it on out there. He worked for GM. So my mother worked for NBC. So we weren't, struggling. They were alcoholics, but they were, functional alcoholics. My dad worked at night. My mom, so dad kind of drank on the weekends, went into that whole thing. Mom, she would go to work. She would pick me and my brother up. She make sure we ate, got our homework taken care of, and then she was gone. She was in the room and she was drinking. So honestly, growing up, I never saw her drunk. I just didn't see her, you know?
Mm.
So it took me a while to really kind of understand. So when I was 15, she came to me and she said, I want to have a sit down and talk to you because I I have to get help. And I'm like, get help for what? She was like, my alcoholism. And I'm like, I don't understand. Then
Mm.
we started talking. So when she would drink, there would be times where she was cooking and she would fall into what I call a stupor. And next thing I know, there was smoke in the house. Right. So that's when I got up, turned off the stove, made sure that that was good because she was already gone. She was in her room doing her thing. So I'm thinking, mommy fell asleep while she was cooking. So that's why this is has happened.
Mm-hmm.
There was, other incidents. So it got to the point where me as a child, I was like, okay, I need to make sure that the house is good before I go to bed. I need to make sure that my brother is good. It was doing the things that the parents should have done. Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when that happens, you take that into your adulthood. So then you start finding people that need you rather than people that are balanced. Because I was always needed. I felt like I was needed as a child to do these adult things. So I found people that needed me. That felt like love to me when it
Mm-hmm.
really wasn't. Right. So I went on and, all my friendships were great as far as I was concerned because I was like, I love hard. I'm here for you. I'm your Olivia Pope, honey. I can fix it. It's all good, right? so,
Mm-hmm. Can we stop
so,
for a second? Hold on.
uh-huh,
Hold on.
sure.
Hold on. When you first started talking, I'm listening to you. I'm going, wait a minute, that's me.
Yeah. That's
That's
why
what everyone says.
Yeah, when you first said that, you was like, "Oh yeah, people pleaser," and yeah,
yeah.
they always got to make sure everybody's good. And then I'm like, "Are you
Baby,
telling
the best host in the house. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's and there's nothing wrong with that. But when you're not doing what you need for you, if you're giving, I always tell people to give your best yes. When you're saying yes, when your body is telling you no, I don't really want to do this, that's a problem.
Yeah.
If you're doing that all the time, you're not honoring yourself. So that's when you fall into those codependent characteristics.
Mm.
So a lot of people don't understand it's truly a characteristic. So let me go ahead and did you have a question? I know you were
me?" No, go ahead. Just go ahead.
okay. So you like, girl, just go on.
Go ahead.
So
Keep
what
telling you.
happened?
Keep telling people about myself. Okay, go ahead.
So what happened was, it was I was trying to figure out what was going on like in my marriage, and I just wasn't happy. We were to the point when you're codependent, you also don't like confrontation. So anytime things it's okay, Carla. It's okay, girl. It's okay.
Yes.
So
Oh,
so
yeah.
basically what you do is you keep
Oh
sweeping
Lord.
things under the rug, right? It's like, oh, this happened, but I'm not even gonna worry about it. It's not even worth it. But it is. You're not honoring yourself. You're not honoring how you feel, right?
Mhm.
So that continued to happen. So I was like, you know what? Because the first time we went to therapy, the therapist told us, well, you guys don't have a husband-wife relationship. You have a mother-son relationship. I was like, boom, tried to tell you, you're out here acting like a kid and da 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 da. I wasn't, it was all about him. I wasn't thinking about me. Well, what are you doing? Well, this woman thinks that you are mothering this man and not being a wife to this man. Where
Mm.
all I was doing was looking at him. I told you, no, but you gotta look here. What are you doing? Right? So then the next time, so let's say 10 years later, the next time I go to therapy, I'm like, I'm going for myself. I need to go for me. And that's when we sat down and we started talking about the different things. And she said, have you ever heard of codependency? I was like, no.
Mhm.
She said, go do the research, get some books. I promise you, it'll change your life. And it did. I went to Barnes and Noble, grabbed a couple books. There's some books called Codependent No More. It's a lot of different things out there. And it talks about it's the people pleasing, the no boundaries, the no confrontation, always making sure that people get along. Knowing that you can do, like, being the fixer. You're like, I know how to do that. You need to do it my way because my way works. You'll manipulate to make things work the way you want it to work. So, a lot of people, you think about codependency and you go, well, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know you were codependent. I'm so sorry. Oh, it's not a weak thing. You know what I mean? I don't want anybody to feel like you're weak. You just have certain characteristics that you need to tweak. You need to find people that can stand on their own. In healthy relationships, people stand like this. And then when you need them, they're there. But then they stand back up. And when you need, so it goes, it's reciprocity. Baby, codependency is like this all day long. A person is always like this. And it's like,
Yep.
I got you. I got you. Don't worry, I got you. That's not the way it's supposed to be. Healthy relationships, both people stand on their own until it's a need. Then I'm there for you, but then you're going to stand back up, and it goes both ways. So once I figured it out, there's a there's an, again, having a mother and a father that are now recovering alcoholics. Baby, I've been to all the anonymouses. I've been I've been to Alcoholics Anonymous, Al Teen, all these different. So what there is a Codependence Anonymous. It's called Coda. I was like, oh, okay. So I went to the meetings, and again, it's the people that are like, oh, this is my tribe. We do understand one another. There is something going on. There is something that I need to fix within myself. I need to learn what boundaries are. I need to know that it's okay to detach from people. And detach doesn't mean I'm mad at you, I can't stand you. It means you're not good for me right now. I need to either lessen my experience with you, or I need to step away for a while, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. So as far as the confrontation, is certain things you have a right to be honored on how you feel. So you need to listen to your body and honor that and say, that doesn't feel good to me when you speak to me in that manner. Or when someone says, oh, I need you to do such and such, because you're so used to fixing and doing. Because if you've been doing for 15 years, all of a sudden when you say, no, I'm not going to do that anymore, or no, I'm going to say no to that. The people that have been truly dishonoring you or allowing you to dishonor yourself, they're going to get upset.
Yeah.
I call it the bear. You've been feeding this bear all this time, right? And then you want to go ahead and put it on a diet. It's like, wait a minute, I'm hungry. I'm hungry. So that bear is going to growl a little bit. So you have to expect that.
Yeah.
And I've had those situations where I'm like, you know what? This is not good for me. I've been feeding this. So I know that the response is not going to be great. So I have to expect that. So I don't shut down, because even though I'm working on this recovery in these situations, certain triggers still happen. If people look at me a certain way, I'm like, well, wait a minute, I want to make them mad. No. It's not about them. And I'm not asking anybody to be in an abusive situation. Like, know your situation and know how to fix and get out of it. Different things happen. I'm only talking about mine, right? But there's times where I have to honor what's going on with me and say, this is, as my granddaddy used to say, my dog ain't in this fight. So I don't have to fix it. So you have to realize, if this is good for you, does it feel good for you? Is this a yes or a no? If it's your best yes, it's a yes. If it's not, it's a no.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Let's breathe that in for me.
Woo. Yeah, because that's a lot. That's a lot. I heard so much of me in all of that. Little pieces of everything that you said. Lord have mercy. Yes.
Yeah.
What resonate with you, Carla?
Just being a people pleaser. That's number one. I'm not good with confrontation because I didn't see it in my household. Okay. My parents, if they did disagree, I've never seen my parents argue. Ever. Maybe once. And if so, it was very mild. And if they did it away from me. So that's not a good thing, because then you don't know how to, when a conflict comes up, I tend to shut down, and then I'll just not speak for a few days. And that's not good either. Right. But I don't know how, like you said, to stand in my body and say, look, I don't like this, without worrying about what the person is going to say or feel or whatever. I'm not honoring myself. And so that definitely resonated with me.
Yeah. That people pleasing, I didn't know it relate with codependency.
I didn't realize that
they went together.
Yeah, when you're not honoring yourself.
Right.
It's nothing wrong with, I'm not telling people don't go around pleasing people. I'm not saying that at all. But if you don't feel good about it, then it's not okay. It's so many times where people will, and it's something as simple as a car ride. If a person is saying, oh, I need a ride, and you're moving your schedule around for this person. Oh, okay, that's all right. It's okay. I'll change that appointment. I do this. If that's constant, you're not honoring. So if you're sitting there going, I cannot believe, oh, this is happening again. I don't even want to take them, but I'm gonna do it this time. Well, should you though?
Right.
But see, that's the thing too, because with my people pleasing, and I notice that I always say that I'm always loyal. Like, I'm that loyal friend.
Mm-hmm.
that will do anything, and I'll be there for you. And because I feel that a lot of times you feel that they're going to reciprocate that, right? You feel that they're going to do it for you.
Mm-hmm.
And when they don't, it's because it's not in their little time frame, right? But they're actually practicing what you should be practicing.
I was going to say they're honoring
They're
themselves.
honoring
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah.
But when you feel that when you sign up to be someone's friend or somebody's partner or whatever, you say, well, I'm gonna be loyal, I'm gonna be down, I'm gonna do what I gotta do. I'm gonna love you really unconditionally, right? Because I have this thing I call conditional love and unconditional love. I feel conditional love is like a store. They open from 8 to 5. And in 8 to 5, they give you 120% at between 8 to 5. The unconditional hours is after hours. It's before 8 and after 5. Those are the ones you really know someone got you back, right? Because it's not in their store hours.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's after when they put that sign and flip it closed, if you call them at 6 o'clock and say, "Look, I have a flat tire, I got whatever," they're like, "Oh man, I ain't gonna be. I wish I could come, but I had, and they give you every excuse in the world because see, it's not in their hours."
Yeah,
and
right.
I think a lot of us get fooled with friends and in relationships because they go, "Well, dang, they down. They always down for me." But think about when they down for you.
Right.
It's when it's convenient for them. Is when they down for you. But when it's not in their hours, they store hours, that's when they go ahead and give you every excuse in the book. So you got to be careful. It's really tricky because you'll look at them being that person, but they only that person when it's convenient for them.
exactly.
Exactly.
Communication is a number one thing for me too. I have always given 100,000% in friendships and relationships, and and not getting the same amount back, and then I ended up drained as well. So yeah,
and that's what ends up happening. You are absolutely drained. You don't feel honored. You're angry, and you're angry with them for something that you're doing.
Do it for yourself.
Right.
There you go.
You did it. Yeah, you didn't.
I always call mine I always create the monster. You call yours a bear. I'll call mine a monster. When you create monsters, you can't get mad at them that they get mad at you when you decide you want to change. When you decide to do your work,
right.
You like, well, I ain't doing that, and they looking at you like you crazy. They're not gonna understand that when you do your work, it takes. That's what you said. They're gonna have to get used to that, right?
Yeah.
If you create that monster or you feed that bear,
Yeah.
same concept. So you got to understand that because you did your work. These people are not going to just jump on board with you because it's just like a kid. Every day you give them a lollipop every single day, right? So the first day you give it to them, they shocked. Oh, lollipop! Thank you, I appreciate that. And then weeks later, you still give it to them, and then after a while, they go on. One day you decide, I'm not going to give you the lollipop. Wait a minute, the lollipop. Why am I getting my lollipop today? Like, wait a minute, dude. Remember, I gave it to you first for free, just like I was being nice to you. But you got a condition to getting it, and when you just told them you're not going to get it, they thought they demanded. Then
right,
it went from a gift to a demand because they got complacent and got used to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
most times we are afraid to have that confrontation or to stand up for ourselves because we worry about being abandoned. That person's not going to be with me. That person will leave me
the word you said,
if I stand on myself.
Stop it.
Stop it. We don't like confrontation because we are worried about being abandoned.
Absolutely.
Like we worry for the people who treat us wrong. We are worried about them leaving us. That's what you're trying to say.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. That's why you deal with it. You deal with it because you're like,
you need to get off my show.
Yeah.
Don't kick me off.
I take the invite back. I just
don't do it.
You just told me all about myself today. God almighty. Okay, go ahead.
No, but I mean that's really what it is. We're so afraid that, oh my gosh, if I stand up for this, then they're gonna leave me. But if people love you again unconditionally, they are not going to leave you for you honoring yourself. Right. For you having boundaries that you've communicated. And that's one thing that I try to tell people that I talk to about codependency. When you decide that you're going to work on this and you're going to start to look at your boundaries and where you want to start having them, like you can't wake up tomorrow and be like, no. Like you got to have the conversation.
They don't know where that's coming from.
They'll be like, wait a minute, hold on. How'd we get here? But you have to have the conversation on why, this is how I'm feeling. This is what I'm going to start doing. And again, everyone's not going to be feeling like, oh, that's so wonderful that you're going to stand up for yourself. They're not going to feel that. But it doesn't mean that you don't move forward in it.
Right.
You know, do your work. You know, some people, again, there's so many different types of people that you're dealing with when you have this happen. So know your audience, right? Have a plan, write it down, write down all of your feelings. What makes you feel certain ways? What gives you triggers? You know, because there's been times where I give a yes and I go home and cry about it. And I was like, what happened there? Like, that's I'm not going to say it's insane, but it's insane. You know what I mean? I'm the one that says yes. So why am I so upset about it? Communication is the key. I remember being so mad. Have you guys ever been in a car with someone, you're on the passenger side and they pissed you off and you just look out the window?
Yeah. Yeah. That's me. Yeah. I won't say nothing. It'll be like, okay.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, let's take me home. Let's get me to the house.
Yep.
That's not communication.
Right.
You have to talk about it.
I will shut down in a heartbeat.
Girl,
she ain't lying.
Trees. I saw they built this house over there.
But you're right. But you're really stepping on toes today, because the things that I characterize to be something else, like, I mean, it's okay. I'm gonna say something else. We're talking about the symptoms, but the name codependency, I never attached that to it before.
No,
that's the funny part.
And it's because people have a certain thought in their head about what codependency looks like. And it's really it's certain characteristics. Just because you're codependent, some people may be codependent to one individual, one person. Others, you look for people who need you because that's where you find your love, right? So it may, that's why I think this resonates with so many different people, because there is a person that you lay your boundaries down and you're like, you know what, I'm not even gonna deal with it, just do whatever, you know. Right. But that it doesn't mean it's okay just because it's one person. You always have to honor yourself, and you have to look at, okay, if I do it with that person, do we have a healthy relationship? You know, I have to, and mine is like with my sons. I love my babies and they get away with a lot, but sometimes I have to go, wait. You're running all over my boundaries. Take your tap dance shoes off. Because mama's standing in this today, you know. So it might just be one person. It may be your family. You may be able to have boundaries with others, but not your family. But anytime you're not honoring yourself, you have to look at that.
Wow. So let's talk about relationships. Okay. I'm gonna give you a word. I'm gonna throw a word at you. Okay.
Okay.
You ready?
Catching it. I'm ready to catch it.
All right. Narcissist.
Who?
Being a narcissist.
Narcissist.
Oh shoot! Those are the ones that attract that.
now, because I'm understand what codependency is, and I understand the traits of codependency.
Baby.
Wouldn't that be a perfect person that would be a predator on a person who's codependent?
A narcissist, definitely. Most definitely. You know, narcissists, they make you feel good, and we're all about feeling good.
The other end.
Oh my goodness. And then they pull you in, right? They pull you in. And you're feeling so good. You're feeling so good about things, and then they switch.
It's the other N word. That's what that is.
Yes. Exactly. And then what happens is you're already there. So then you're going to do everything you can to please this person. So you're going to continue to dishonor and feel bad. Dishonor and feel bad. And when you finally at that point where you're like, you know what, I'm going to speak up for myself, maybe, but let's say you do, then they'll, oh, well, baby, I didn't mean to. Gaslighting. Yeah. Bring you flowers. What's your favorite? Oh, okay. I got you some tulips. You know, I'll take you out.
Yeah.
They pull you back in, and then you start all over again, and that cycle starts all over again.
Yes, it does.
Right? Yes, it does. Because you're that people pleaser, you don't recognize when it changes. So
yeah. Oh my God.
I know.
It is true, because when It's like I said, it's a drug. We had a show about that before, and we were talking about it's like a drug, right?
It is.
It's like being on crack or cocaine or whatever, because you are searching for that high again.
Yep.
Because they make you feel so good, and when you feel bad, you feel really bad.
Yep.
But you're chasing to get back up to that good again, because you just like, I got to get that good again.
Yeah.
And then that's where that comes in, when
I gotta please them.
does, and then you go back and you go, okay, here come the good again. It's like a roller coaster, and you're looking for that good, and it kind of like self-punishing yourself, because you know the bad's gonna come again. You know that, but you're okay with it because you're not okay with yourself, and
you're constantly trying to climb to that pleasing part.
Yeah.
So when it's bad, you're like, I'm gonna do everything that I can to make him happy.
And it's never enough. It's never enough. It's always something. It's always something. That's what that saying on t-shirts, you are enough. Because they will have you thinking that you're not doing, they're fine for a little while, and it's never satisfied. They're insatiable,
Right.
They're never satisfied.
So let's go over once again the traits, so people can understand. And we do have some comments, and we'll get to those in a second.
Okay.
But let's talk about the traits again. So I think, especially, just think about just me and Carla on this show, going like, that sound like me. So let's go over that, because there's other people out here that probably never thought that they were codependent. So go over like the actual traits of codependency.
So if you like to rescue people, when I realized I was codependent, I did I kind of looked at my life. I looked at my friends, of course, relationships. And I was like, wow, I literally attract people who need something. And I am so ready to give it to them. I'm ready to satisfy their needs, because that is where I found love. And that's not always the case. You don't have to rescue people in order to receive love. People who love you unconditionally for who you are, not for what you do, not for what they're receiving. So that's one. If you try to manipulate and control situations because you want things to turn out like the answer, I can fix this. So if you just do it this way, if you go down this street, make a left, make a right, and people have their own ways to navigate. It's their lives. People have to deal with their own consequences. So you can't manipulate people into doing things exactly the way that you want it to be done, because you think that your way is the fix-it way, right? Of course, codependents are extremely loyal. That's what we do.
Yes.
If you make excuses for other people's bad behavior, that is, there's no excuses for bad behavior. It's bad behavior. Right. Let's not make excuses for it. Another thing, of course, like I said, you don't like confrontation. And a big one, you don't like to receive recognition. You don't want anybody to say, girl, you're so good. Oh, you're so pretty today. Oh my goodness. I just love it when you do this. I just want to praise you. I just want to give you something. Oh, girl, don't give me nothing. I just wanted to do it. No, it's okay. You can take that recognition.
I had to learn to accept people's compliments and things, and that's not rebut it and we'll come back and say, well, I did this, and that. That's why it's like that. No.
You got on a cute outfit. Girl, this is old.
Yeah, this is old. Is this old thing? No. I had this too. I just threw it on. No.
You learn how to receive.
Right, exactly.
Yes. And when somebody give me a compliment now, I say, I receive it. That's what I say. Right. I receive it.
Yeah, or I'll just say thank you very much, girl. I feel good, something like that, just because I still have that urge to be like, nah, but then
But you know what we do too? When somebody give us a compliment, we go like to say, oh, I love your hair. Like, I love your hair too. No, you don't. If you wasn't going to tell them that, if they didn't tell you that, you don't have to give back a compliment with a compliment. A lot of times we think that we got to give one back to someone.
Rather than just saying thank you.
Just say, I receive it. Just say you received it, and just say thank you. I received that.
Absolutely.
But don't tell somebody something that is not true, because you wasn't going to tell them that.
Jesus.
It's true. What you want to tell them that hair look good? What you want to say that?
No.
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 Nope.
But
Not at all.
that's a problem of what we think we need to do. We don't deserve a compliment. We have to give another compliment back because we got to give back to you. It's like somebody give you money and you give it back to them. They gave it to you. Why are you not taking it? Oh, I gotta give
Right.
it back to you. Why? I gave you money. We feel we don't deserve the compliment, so we got to
And
give one.
that is it.
That's what it is.
That is it. You feel like you don't deserve it. You
Mhm.
know, and again, it's about honoring yourself. If you like, okay, and Carla, you say you don't like confrontation. So when it's if you feel like something is going to happen and there's going to be some type of disagreement, do you feel it in your body?
Yes.
Do you tense up? I try to explain to people, especially codependents, listen to your body. I used to tingle in certain places if there was going to be a confrontation or if there was something that I needed to say. I would feel it in my throat. I would feel it would like something was stuck in my throat. Well, really, it was my words, you know?
Mhm.
So really listen to your body.
Mhm.
That's when you need to communicate with your mouth the most. The most. You got to know when to be quiet. Don't get me wrong. But there's a lot of times when you need to communicate certain things, but you have to know how to communicate it as well.
That's
That's
the
the other
problem.
thing.
I don't know how
Mhm.
to. I'll just sometimes it'll just be it'll just come out and it'll come out any kind of way, and people get offended, and then it's like a whole nother ball game. So
Because
so
you're
that's
not
why.
you haven't worked on that muscle, you
Yeah,
know. That's a muscle to be able to
you
communicate
know,
the
over there
right way.
laughing. Yeah.
Or I used to do this thing where I was like, okay, I'm gonna have this conversation and I write down all these different things. And then when it comes time to have a conversation, I don't remember anything. I was like, I don't remember what we was gonna talk about.
Mm,
But really, like, so it's still unresolved,
right.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
completely unresolved.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's it. Like you said, it's a muscle you have to practice. It's
It's
definitely a muscle you have
definitely
to
a
practice.
muscle. Hmm.
Holly, we got a couple of comments. We'll go ahead and answer those.
Yeah, absolutely. Donna Ferguson is joining us. Hello. She says, "Hello, ladies."
Hey,
Hey,
Welcome.
Donna.
hi, Donna.
That's my friend from Beyond. She's on Australia.
Oh,
Mm.
hello. And we have Melvina Beasley. I love your point about conditional love and people who have store hours. I have been there before and it caused hurt and anger because I expected me out of them. Yes.
Right.
Yes,
You
that's
think that
what we
you're gonna
do. We
that's
expect.
reciprocity.
That's
Mhm.
what it is, right? We expect others to be like us.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
one of the
Doesn't
problems
happen all
I
the
had.
time.
I expected people to react and do like I do to them. If
Yep.
I'm loyal to you, I'm guaranteeing you're supposed to be loyal to me. How
Yes.
can you not be? I'm
Right.
giving you loyalty and I'm there for you. So how can you not be there for me? How can you sleep at night and not be there for me?
But we
Exactly.
don't require it. We don't require it back. That's the
Mhm.
problem.
Yeah, and I'm just now coming to that. She also continues, Melvina, especially when you think you have that sisterly love and they show you they don't care as much as you. Yeah.
Mm.
Novena, girl, this is my sis right here. Let me tell you.
Mhm.
That that hurts. That hurts when you come to
It does.
the realization that your friendship is not as good as you thought it was, or you gave so much to a person and they didn't appreciate it. It really hurts
It
Hmm.
does.
because you don't understand how someone can take advantage of you like that. But it's
Yeah.
not that. It's you not loving yourself
Thank you.
enough for it to not happen to you. That's the
Hmm.
problem.
Hmm.
That's where we kind of take it and we try to reflect it on the other person because we kind of mad at ourselves for letting that allow that to happen and getting God or being played. But
Hmm.
we have to kind of take that responsibility. Go, you know what? I didn't love myself enough to not let that happen to me. Am I
Yes.
right, Miss Shaw?
You are. That you are.
It's hard
Honey.
though. It's a hard realization though, because that's when you got to start cutting ties with people.
That's when you have to
Yeah.
start detaching.
Mm.
And there are times where, a person, okay, so my biggest detachment, my detachment story is what I call it. My aunt. So I have a hard time dealing with people who are addicted to alcohol because of my mom. So
Hmm.
when I was older and grown, children, married, I wouldn't call my mother after 7 o'clock because to hear her drunk voice would set me off.
Yeah.
And I would become very disrespectful. And that's not my nature, but that was a trigger for me, and she wasn't gonna remember it in the morning anyway. but it didn't make it right. I'm not saying it made it
That's
right,
true.
Right.
but that would be my trigger. So I would be disrespectful. So because that's not what I wanted to do, I just wouldn't talk to her after a certain time.
Mm-hmm.
So when so she's sober at this point, and so I have another family member who is drinking, and we have the conversation because in we have a lot, alcoholics in a family. You can, if you're looking under rocks, you're going to find them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this person, she knew, that she was an alcoholic. So she also knew how I felt about it because we had conversations about my mom. So she said, well, yeah, I get it, and I don't want to stop drinking. And I have she had every right to say that. She has every right to continue to drink. And I
Right.
said, okay, this is where the conversations come in, right? I said, okay, great. So what are we going to do from here on out? So it was okay. So understand that if this is what you want to continue to do, I have to detach from you for, a bit. So
Right.
that means we won't talk as much. We can make certain times to be together. During those times, I'm going to require that you don't drink. And if you can't do that, I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
And that is how we navigated through our relationship.
Yeah.
You can't drink when you're with me. And it's like, but I'm going to continue to drink and I'm okay with you not being around.
Mm.
And it's okay. You have to be able to be okay with whatever the person says and
Mm-hmm.
whatever, because everybody has their own life. They make their own decisions. But you have to honor you, just like she wanted to honor her. In her honoring herself, she wanted to drink. So
Yeah.
you have to be okay with that. So have the conversations, even when they're hard. And
Mm.
even when you don't agree with it. I don't agree with that. But again, that's me trying to fix her. I can't fix you. You're doing what you want. It's like somebody trying to take chocolate away from me. I'm eating my chocolate. Leave me alone.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not good for you. But I want it. you know?
You have a good point with that. I mean, even with relationships, with some people you can't even do that. You're gonna have to just cut.
Put it all the way on.
Baby, there are several different levels. If a person is toxic and it's not good for you, let it go. It will be hard. You will have tears. But in the end, when you start honoring yourself, you start having your affirmations,
Yeah.
knowing that you're worthy, knowing that you deserve better,
Mm-hmm.
baby. You're like, who?
Mm.
Who?
So
You don't
basically
miss it.
doing your work. See, so it's going to be hard at first because if you're going to do this while you still who you are in this codependency thing, it's going to be hard because you're going to cut the people off that you needed to feel needed by.
Mhm.
So then
But
that means
Yeah.
you're sitting there
Yeah.
with nothing to do, with no one that you needs you, and you don't know how it feels to be with someone who doesn't need you, and that's supposed to be the normal. That's normal.
right.
Like you
Right.
And
said, the balancing thing, which you use your hands.
mhm.
That's
Yeah,
that's
but the thing
supposed
is, you have to know your worth. So the first work that has to be done is you finding out who you are,
Yeah.
knowing who you are on the inside. I had to go all the way back to my childhood. When when I was writing the book, God Turned Mommy's Wine into Water. When I was writing it, I had this story. We lived in a high rise and I slept. It was a one bedroom. So I used to sleep on the sofa in the front,
Mhm.
and at the time I said something. I was typing and I didn't realize how I felt about it. I said I slept in I slept on the sleeper sofa in the living room like a guard dog.
Mm.
So when I said that, after I typed it, I was like, whoa, where did that come from? I'm
Right.
uncovering, I'm doing the work. I felt uncovered. Every child should feel protected.
Right.
Mm.
I didn't know it, but in those times, I didn't feel protected. But I also didn't have the words to say I didn't feel protected. I'm sure my parents didn't run around thinking, "Oh, I'll just put her out front. She'll be, if she Robert comes in, they can see her first." That wasn't the intention.
You said see her first.
That wasn't the intention. But I
Oh.
didn't have the words to know that I didn't feel protected, right?
Mm.
So that was some of the work that I needed to do. So you've
Mhm.
got to do the work for yourself so you know your value.
Yeah.
You know that I am worthy. I am enough. I will stand for myself. Like, you have to do your work before you can take care of anybody else. So don't
Mhm.
think, oh yeah, I'm codependent. Now I'm going to tell you about yourself and you about yourself. Remember, that's what I talked about in that
Right.
session. You know, it was like, oh, I told you you were the problem. No, you got to, that's why it's called, that's why I made this call codependent me. It's
Mm-hmm.
because healing codependency starts with me.
Right.
Mhm.
That's where you have to start with yourself. You have to
Mm-hmm.
go back to your childhood, figure out where you felt, and I call it reparenting. Sometimes you have to reparent yourself
Yeah.
because the first time everybody doesn't get it right. You
Mhm.
Yeah.
know, your
Yeah.
parents did the best that they could,
Mhm.
but they don't always get it right. So if you know what you were needing, go back. I
Mm-hmm.
tell people all the time, write a letter to you as a child
Mm-hmm.
and say it's going to be okay. I know you feel like this. I know you feel abandoned. I know you feel ugly. I know you feel like your thighs are too thick, but baby, let me tell you, you're going to be okay. And the
Mm-hmm.
reason the reason you know you're going to be okay is because you are me. And if I'm
Mm.
writing you this letter, I'm growing. I'm better. And it's going to
Wow.
be all right. Mhm.
Wow, and that would kind of help you see, and that's the thing, because when most of us are living our childhood traumas in adulthood, most of us our characteristics and things that we do is because
Mhm.
of things that happened in our childhood.
Absolutely.
And a lot of us don't like to talk about it, or we suppressed it and thought we got rid of it, but it comes out in these ways:
Mhm.
codependency, low self
Yes.
esteem, validation issues, people pleasing. All these things that we do are stemmed from childhood traumas or things that happened when we were younger and we never got resolved because a lot of us did never go talk to anyone, right?
Mhm.
So we
Yes.
figure we just keep it in and keep it pushing.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like
Yeah.
anything, like you shake a soda bottle up, it's going to
Right.
eventually come out somehow. There's no way you
Right.
can take a soda and not come out. So
Mm.
it's going to come out in different facets. It's not going to go out the same way it went in.
Right.
And
So
that's,
yeah,
yeah,
it goes away. It
and it
doesn't
will
go away,
continue to happen
and it
also,
continues. Yep, it
even through
continues
your
to happen.
healing. That's
Mm-hmm.
why I tell people all the time, don't you're never going to be healed. Something will always come up that will either be a trigger or something that's a remembrance that
Mm-hmm.
you have to deal
That's
with that's new.
that is a good point.
Yeah,
You,
I trigger
you're never
sometimes on
going
certain
to
things.
completely heal. That's a good point,
Right.
Tamala.
Mhm.
That is so true. And people look like, oh, I'm healed. I'm healed.
Mhm.
No, with certain things
You're
that happen,
healing.
yeah, you're healing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You're healing, but guess what the best part about it is? You are
Mhm.
actually able to recognize what it is. So even with me, I've been through a lot. I've been through a lot of healing. I've been through a lot of counseling and all that, right? But there's certain things
Mhm.
that still would trigger me. But I know I go, oh, up, I
Trigger.
see
There
it.
you go.
I see it.
Right.
Okay, so let me digress. Let me figure this out. Let me
Mhm.
just think
Mhm.
about this. Why am I doing this? Like I have the tools to
Yes.
Yeah.
talk it out now. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not gonna always go away, but you have the
No.
tools to
Right.
talk it out and go, okay, let me stop it 'cause I see it starting to happen. And
Right.
that's the key.
And if you identify with it,
Yeah.
again, if you sit back and write down how you feel on the inside of your body when certain things happen, you'll start to recognize it.
Mm.
I promise.
Yeah.
It's
That's right.
amazing when you start to really be in tune with how different everything is senses,
Mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm,
If somebody
Mhm.
says something to you and your neck pop, like you feel that heat. Like, oh, that
mm-hmm.
made me mad, you know. So you just have to you will know. And certain
Me
things will
is my
trigger you. And it gets to the point where you can say, oh, I'm feeling triggered right now. But that takes time. That takes work.
But that's the
Now,
work.
Mhm.
That's the work.
That's
Because
right.
3 years ago, I wouldn't even recognize it. Now I go, oh, I see it happening. Let me just slow
yeah.
it up. Let me figure out why
Yeah.
it's happening so I can kind of
Yeah.
control it.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah. Me
go
is
ahead,
my
Carla.
solar. It's my solar plexus. I feel it right underneath here. It's like a drop. I can't even describe it, but it's like, ooh, you know what I mean? And
I
it,
know what you're talking about.
yeah,
I do. I
you know,
do.
yeah, that's where mine is. Yeah, and it's just like I've always felt it, just didn't know what it, but it's the triggers,
Hmm.
you know. So
Absolutely. And I tell people all the time, you know how you were saying you have to talk about it. In
Mm-hmm.
order to heal a thing, you have to talk about a thing. You have to talk about it to heal it. Now, I'm not saying tell the world. I'm not telling you to say, say anything to people that you don't trust or who's going
Mhm.
to run with your trauma and make it worse for you. But find that safe space. Find that place that you feel as though, then it's a no judgment zone.
Mhm.
Mm.
Because I promise you, when you find that tribe, that's when you can come together. I started codependent meetings here in Nashville when I first started going to meetings because the meetings here weren't really satisfying me.
Mhm.
I'm a big person that if you see a need, feel a need. So there
Mhm.
weren't a lot of African American uh, meetings here in Nashville. So I started holding them at a library here. And it was beautiful because you would find that the people that were there, we were going through the same things all week. It was like, oh, this person did this and my family said that. And because everybody doesn't understand codependency, everybody doesn't understand addiction, all of that. So sometimes you need that tribe to talk to in order so you won't feel like you're crazy or or that you're odd or something is wrong with you. No,
Mhm.
nothing is wrong with you. You have certain characteristics that you need to tweak in order to honor yourself and have healthy relationships, and that's what it is.
And
Yeah.
that's a big thing. That's a big thing. Wow. Woo, this has been one of these shows, I tell you.
Yes.
Uh, it's been one of these shows. So
Yeah.
thank you so much. I appreciate it. But let's remember I told you at the beginning of the show I wanted to bring something up. But before I do that, is anybody out there want to comment and talk about anything that they never thought that they had those kind of codependencies? This would be your first step in acknowledging them. So
Mhm.
if you want to comment and talk about it with our expert here with codependency, Tamala Shaw, please do. Don't be scared. It's we all have something. None of us are perfect. We all have something. On the show,
Absolutely.
Let's Talk, we talk about it all the time. Me and Carl always are very transparent. We put our stuff out there because we want others to know it's okay to talk about it. And as you
Right.
know, Tamala's putting her stuff out there.
Mhm.
So
Right,
I
putting it all out there.
I know. I didn't know that I was actually codependent. I have the characteristics of a codependent on the things
Yeah.
that I just learned that today.
Mhm.
So that was
Mhm.
another thing added to my list. But but it's okay because that's okay. We are humans and we learn. And the best part is learning it. So now you could go ahead and go into it and realize and fix
Yeah.
it. You know,
How can you be better if you don't know? Right.
Right.
yeah,
Right.
that's
That's
true.
what you have to. If you can't heal a thing if you don't know it's there.
That's
Mhm.
right, and it's
Yeah,
okay
it
because
is.
a lot of us we grew up being that person for someone. It could
Mhm.
have been a parent or a sibling or someone that you was protecting all the time, you were covering up for all the time,
That's
and
right.
Mhm.
that's what made you decide to, take on them characteristics. And then when you went out to the real world and started dating and started having friends, you started looking for those type of people. That's
Yes.
just human nature. When you
Yeah.
keep your body a certain way, it humanly just goes out and look for that kind of person because that's what you
Right.
yourself to do.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So
I
now,
mean, I realized that my grandmother was actually codependent, but it was because my grandfather was an alcoholic. So she took care of everything. I watched her and I was
Mhm.
like, she is such a superwoman. Oh my goodness. But never did I see the times that she wasn't honoring herself because she
Right.
didn't show it. She didn't, she only showed that she always had the smile, you know?
Mhm.
Most codependents, you don't know. They're not crying in public. They're crying when they go home and go into their room, you
Yeah.
know?
and they
So
get tired. I know they are drained out of this
yeah,
world. When you
yeah,
Mhm.
have the help of an alcoholic, that's draining.
Yeah.
yes.
It is. Yeah. It is.
Yes, absolutely. Taking care of your children and ensuring that they have everything that they need. And most people they take on other people's situations. I remember my grandmother taking care, she was a nurse. She'd go across the street taking care of the people across the street and but never once have I ever seen her, do anything for herself.
Mhm.
Honestly, anything for
Right.
herself.
Mm.
Right.
When I finally just sat down and really thought about it, I was
Mhm.
like, man, you know, this woman she would make breakfast for the family, then make it in literally she would do it in phases because different people was doing different things at different times. she's making sure that you have breakfast because you leave at this time. You have breakfast, but you leave at this time. And then you come home from school. So I'm going to make sure that you have something when you come home. It got to the point, she would have popcorn, hot popcorn on the stove waiting for me when I came home from school because that was my favorite snack. That woman was wonderful.
Yeah.
But I just wish she would have honored some of the things that she wanted to do for herself. Not saying that wasn't one that pleased her. You know what I mean?
Right.
But there are times that you can't be everything to everyone, especially when you're not being number one to you.
That's it right there. You can't be everything to everyone.
Yeah.
So let's, before we close out, we're gonna try to do this briefly, but I wanted to just mention something. I was on Tamala Shaw, and she told me about a situation that she dealt with, and we kind of broke it down in a certain way. So let's try to do it, the really short version of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I went to get a massage, and when I got into the room, the girl told me, she said, what type of massage do you want? And I said, oh, I just want to relax. So just a light massage. And so she said, okay, well, what level? And I said, just a light massage. She said, oh, okay, well, I do deep tissue. So I'm doing deep tissue and you're going to be sore tomorrow. And I was like, oh, okay. So I said, okay. And, she left the room. And so I undressed to get on the table. And I was like, oh, you just said, okay. Like, how you going to deal with that? Will she come in and give you this deep tissue massage that you did not ask for? And I'm big on customer service. I'm paying for this massage. Do what I ask, right? Mm-hmm. So I get on the table and I'm like, Lord, okay, you had me say, okay. Because I thought about it. How am I going to handle this? I could say, no, boo, you're not going to do that. I could say, I need a different masseuse. I could say, get your manager because you are not honoring what I'm wanting you to do. But in my body, because I always check in, God said, say, okay. So I said, okay, laid on the table and I'm waiting. I'm waiting to get beat up because I don't know what's about to happen. She told me I was going to be sore tomorrow.
I feel good.
Right. So she comes, it's a little while because she's taking longer than I thought. And so next thing I know, she knocks on the door. I'm like, come on in. And so she's standing there and I'm bracing myself because I'm like, okay. And she's like, ma'am, I can't do your massage. And I'm like, oh, are you okay? And I've had some things happen and I just can't do it. I go, okay, wait. Calm down, breathe. Let me know what I need to do. Is what do you need to do for you right now? She says, well, I'm gonna leave. I said, okay, what are my next steps? She's like, well, you have to get dressed and yada yada yada. I said, okay. And so I sit up and I go, whew. So number one, I realized that all of that, you're gonna be sore tomorrow, it had nothing to do with me. Right? Mm-hmm. Absolutely nothing to do with me. So instead of me flying off the handle, there had been a time she'd got Tam instead of Tamala. But I listened to my body and I said, okay, what am I supposed to do? And I didn't have any triggers. There was no triggers. So I just said, okay. So that was me trusting the process. Yeah. And that's kind of what we talked about on my show. Sometimes you have to just trust the process of what is going on at that moment. That moment had nothing to do with me. It could have been real bad if I had made it about me, right? Mm-hmm. There could have been, in my head, there were several different things that could have happened. But knowing that, number one, I didn't do anything wrong. Number two, I would have handled it if she had started to dishonor what I asked for, right? But for some reason, something within me said, okay. Mm-hmm. And that's the story.
But but that is amazing because when we talked about it, trusting the process takes a lot.
It does.
It never says it's going to be easy.
No, it's
no.
Trusting the process is not easy. Mm-hmm. But when God feels you at that point that he could see, he tests her.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That was a test.
Yeah.
Because the normal person would have popped off.
Wigs would have flown.
She's like, wigs would have flown.
That is a perfect example of what we would mostly do is popped off. Because when somebody told you what they're going to do to you, you're like, what you're not going to do.
Right.
Homegirl said you gonna be sore tomorrow.
She said, I'm going to do this and you're going to be sore tomorrow. Basically, she said, I'm going to take all that anger that I had, that frustration that came out later. See,
Yeah.
but what happened was if she had did that, it would escalate it because she's looking for that. Because
Yeah.
That's what she wanted. She wanted
wanted
me.
that. Because
Yeah,
that was
she
our
wanted me
reason
to say
to pop
something.
off.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a life lesson for everyone that's listening to that. When people come at you to do stuff like this and get mad at you and try to get you to be angry with them, when you go to their level with that, they want you to do that. It's like a person who wants to kill themselves and they come at you running with a cop because they know you're going to shoot them, you're going to kill them.
Right.
That's the same concept. They want you because they need to get that anger out. They don't know how to communicate. So the only way they know how to communicate is through anger, and they need you to be that board, to be angry. So your job is to go,
think about
no.
it. Think about it. Think about it first. Is this the best answer? Now, I'm not saying this somebody tell you they're gonna make you sore to just lay down and take it. I'm not saying that at all. But think about at that moment, what are you trying to get from me? At that moment, she wanted me to say, no, you're not, and have a confrontation, like you said. But I wasn't, that wasn't in my spirit at the time.
Right.
Honestly, I couldn't. When she left the room, I even said to myself, I cannot believe you just said okay. Like you said okay. But I was really tuning into myself. And God, that's what God said. Okay. With a smile.
But you was the vessel that he used, because when she came back out, she had to convert to being transparent and honest, because you didn't answer that. If you had answered that, then she would came out the way she wanted to come out. But you put her in a predicament. When she went back in that room, and the reason why it took her that long, because she broke down. Because she realized what she did was wrong, because you didn't answer it. Because if you answered it, then she would say, okay, well, I could justify my actions because you came off and popped.
Right.
But when you didn't pop, then she had to go inside of herself and go, what did I just say? What did I just do? And now she got a chance to think about it because you didn't do nothing.
See, the bait of Satan is offense. And if you're offended, then you will respond a certain way, right? So she probably thought that I was going to be offended. Oh, no, you're not going to tell me. How you going to tell me what I'm going to have? But I didn't. So she had to go think about it. Oh, well, wait a minute. She was what? Wow. And
because she had to think, because there was nothing else to think about, because you didn't give her anything else.
Yeah.
Her ammo was gone. She shot all her shots. Her gun was empty. So she had no choice but to think now. And that was the point of this story. I wanted everybody to hear that, because in life, it's going to be times that we're going to bite our tongue. And today in my sermon in my church, I went back to church. First time since COVID, I was in church. I was like, yes, I'm glad to be back. But that was one of the things we talked about, is the life in the tongue. The tongue.
Absolutely.
Life and death of the tongue. That was the sermon today.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I wanted to talk about that, because that's exactly what just happened with you. Well, not just happened, but when it happened with you, is that tongue.
Right.
You got quiet, and God did the rest. He worked it out, because when she came back out, he worked on her in that back room. That's what took her so long to come out. He worked on her, and when he came out, she said, because she broke down, because she knew she was wrong.
Yeah.
You didn't have to do nothing.
Mm-mm.
You didn't have to pop off.
Mm-mm.
We have to be patient and let the process happen.
Trust the process.
Always want to do what is already been done by God. He took care of it, but no, we got to make sure you know how I feel. We got to make sure to tell you what you're not going to do, and you're not going to do this to me. And just relax. It's working, and it's hard.
Right.
You got to do your work. When you do your work, you can understand it better. But until then, you're going to keep doing that, and you're going to get your high blood pressure up, and you're going to fall out with a stroke, trying to holler and scream at people because you're trying to prove your point.
Yeah.
But it's already been ordained. It's already been worked out. Divine order's already going to take care of it. And guess believe, all of us are working on that, because sometimes I got to catch myself.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think I would have reacted the way Tamala did. I'm just to be honest with you.
Tamala is surprised she responded the way that Tamala did.
Because I wouldn't have popped off, but she would have known. I mean, like, let me speak to someone else, because you're not doing my massage today. That's how I
Yeah,
would have handled it, and then that would have been it.
absolutely.
I would have just escalated it to the next to the manager, and then that would have been it. I wouldn't have cussed her out or anything, but I'm
Right.
like, no, you're not doing this today.
Right.
Where's your manager?
Where's your
Yes.
manager?
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but see
Yeah,
that feeling she had, that's just a story of how God worked through her at that moment. We all have
exactly.
moments like that. We all gonna
Yeah,
have moments that God's gonna do something, that we're gonna do something we never done before. And that's one of
exactly.
the things she
And
did.
and to be totally honest, the reason that we talked about it is because it's a hard story for me to tell,
Mm,
because you feel like people are going to react to how you responded, because most people will say, "Oh no, girl, you should have blah blah blah." When
right.
no, at that moment I was really honoring what God told me to do.
Yes.
Because like I said, there was a time, there could have been the next day, could have been an hour later, I could have given a different response.
Hmm.
But at that moment, God said, "Say okay."
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
With a smile. She
Honoring
looked at me
him
like,
is
"Oh."
definitely a blessing in your life, because I guarantee you, he gave you so many favors for you doing that. Because we are so worried about, and that's why she said, I didn't want to tell that story, because it's like you scared, because everybody else is gonna be like, girl, you crazy. Da, 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 da.
Right. I'm like, I'm not a scary person, I promise.
That's a judgment. You can't judge other people and their situations, especially when you're not there in the moment and what's
What they
happening.
do.
It's yeah. Hmm.
You're right, exactly
But I
right.
don't care. I'm all right with it now. It's like that's how
But
I
that was a
handled it, because
beautiful
that's how
story,
I was
though.
told to handle it. You know what I mean?
That was a
And that's
beautiful
again,
story.
that's honoring. I have to honor myself in that
Right.
story because I did what I was supposed to do.
Hmm.
That's right, you did. You're supposed to be more like, I'm proud of that story. You need to tell that
Right.
story more often to other people,
Yeah.
because it resonated with me, and
Because
we
you were the
really
first
talked.
person I told.
Oh,
Hmm.
what?
Hmm.
Oh, I received that. Oh, I received that. But I want to thank you so much, Tamara, for coming on our show this evening. You was a blessing to
Thank you for
us.
having
And like
me.
me and Colin learned something else to add to our list of things that we got to work on.
Yeah, exactly. 'Cause I've been working, but I still have a ways to go. That's
Yeah, and I hope that our audience today, our Let's Talk family, learned something from this today. Even if it's not you, maybe somebody else in your family, that now you can understand them better.
hmm
Maybe you can understand them better on why they do what they do, and maybe you could just resonate with them, and maybe talk to them and say, hey, I saw this show and I never thought about it before, but you always trying to do this for people and this and that, and and maybe you could just bring it to their attention. Maybe they don't know. So
right.
that's what
Yeah.
we're about. We're about giving out information. You take what works for you, leave the rest, and ponder. That's what we're about, and let's talk. So I would
Hmm.
definitely want to say thank you. We will definitely have you back again, because
Thank
we
you.
could really dissect this into like other little segments and stuff. So we
Oh, I
definitely,
would love that.
definitely. So before we go, I have to do a couple of things here, as we do all the time. And I'm sorry, y'all. Take my thing off here. There you go. All right. So for sponsorships for Let's Talk 1943, if you're interested in sponsoring your shows, your podcast, your businesses, your services on our show, it's only $15 a show. We will do like we do here. We'll put your flyer up here, your media flyer. We'll talk about your show. I mean, talk about your product, show, or services, and you'll get exposure on our Facebook, our Twitter, and our Instagram page. So if you're interested, please contact us at Let's Talk 1943 at gmail.com, or go to our website, www.letstalk1943.com, and fill out the contact information, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. That's the information right there. Um, I do have an announcement as well. Hold on one second. Got Your Sponge is my self-help journal. It's on Amazon, and we actually have a conferences that goes with the book. I have a course that goes with the book. And if you're interested in journaling and you never journaled before, my book is actually, you'll have like sections that will help you journal. It tells you what to write in each section, so it makes it easy for you to journal, and it helps you ring out all your insecurities or this stuff that we're talking about, codependency.
Yes.
It helps you ring out all this stuff so we could get you started in absorbing new ideas, new processes, and new belief systems. So Ring Out Your Sponge is on Amazon.com under my name, Regina R. Smithwick, or this Ring Out Your Sponge journal. It will pop right up for you. I love this book. It helped a lot of people. A lot of people love it. You'll see the comments on Amazon. So if you're interested, and actually today, if you're watching us and you have never received the book, I will give one copy free today. If you comment, Ring Out Your Sponge in the comment section or whatever platform you're using today, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, please, if you do it, the first person caller sees, she'll let me know and I'll get your information and I will mail you out a Ring Out Your Sponge journal. So just let us know. Next up is, hold on. Our sponsor for today is Cousin Chat Podcast with Donna Pazant. Cousin Chat Podcast is on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. She has it on Anchor Podcast. So any podcast, Google, Anchor, Breaker, Apple Podcast is a great show. It comes on every Friday. She drops a new episode. So as you see, that's the episode I was on, and it's a great show. So Cousin Chat Podcast, if you want to listen, as you see, episodes every Friday at 7 a.m. is dropped at cousinchat.com. So that's our sponsor for this evening. See how easy that is, y'all? So
I like it.
So just put it up. There you go. You've got sponsored.
Like
Our show, Let's Talk 1943, is on podcast as well, is on Anchor as well, and we are on all 6 platforms of podcasting. So look us up on Anchor or Google or Apple or Breaker. We are on all of those. So if you can't watch us, you can listen to us on the podcast. So we are hoping you could do that as well, and it's right there. That's how you look us up. Our next show is on the 28th of August. Make sure I'm right. The 28th. Yep, 28th of August. It's called Divorce Recovery. Divorce Recovery. So,
No, I just said child.
I gotta tune in on that one.
That's a big one.
You're divorced too, Tamala?
Yeah.
She's like, Yeah, so there's a lot of us out here that are divorced, and we're gonna have an expert that's gonna actually help us get over it, or people who have not got over it yet, or different things about divorce that we never really thought about. So tune in on the 28th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we'll definitely have that for you. And I think that is it. Got it all out, Carla. Got it. All right. So let's do final words around the horn. So Tamala, you have any final words for our Let's Talk family this evening?
I just want people to know that honoring yourself is wonderful and you matter. People have to understand that the way that they feel matters, and there's nothing wrong with standing for it.
All right. Thank you so much. Carla, you have anything you want to say?
Thank you so much for joining us. This is a very good topic, and you covered it tremendously well. Thank you so much. I would love to be here again.
Oh, yeah, you'll be back, girl. Don't worry about that.
I'm all about it.
We have one last comment. I got it, Carla. We have Melvina saying this was a great show, and it was. It was a beautiful show.
Yes.
So yes, it was. Thank you, Melvina, for letting us know that it is a great show. And I tell you, Let's Talk has been a blessing for me and Carla. This has been a great journey that we've been on. It will be 2 years in February. Can you believe that?
Wow.
Can't believe it.
That's awesome.
It'll be 2 years in February. And it's
gotta celebrate, right?
Yeah, we had an anniversary show last time, so this time I have to figure out something else. But we're gonna do something big because 2 years is big for podcasting and for just being on a live talk show on a continuous basis. It's
I agree.
been, you don't see that too often. So you just continue to do your grind, and God is watching, and God is going to do right, and He's going to know when it's time for whatever's supposed to happen is going to happen on His time, and you got to
Mhm.
trust the process.
Mhm.
So, but I would like to say thank you so much for watching Let's Talk 1943. Tell me, let's hold on, don't click off yet. I just want to say thank y'all so much for coming on. We love you. God bless. Until next time, let's talk.